In this video 1-4, we will be multiplying and dividing integers. By the end of the video and work time in class, you should be able to say, I can multiply and divide integers. When we're multiplying integers, we look at the signs of our numbers, and when I mean signs, we're looking to see if they're positive or if they're negative. And the first rule I want you to remember is the product of two integers with the same sign is positive. So some key things to underline when we're looking at product: we're multiplying. We have two integers, and if they have the same sign, it is a positive answer. So for example, if we have a positive 8 times a positive 3, we get 24. Our answer is positive. Both integers are positive, 8 and 3. Our answer, 24, is positive. Now if I had a negative 8 times negative 3, a negative times a negative ends up being a positive as well. Because what ends up happening is really we're looking at the opposite of a negative. When we have a negative times a negative, and the opposite of a negative is a positive. So if, once again, they're the same, a negative 8 and a negative 3, same sign, our answer is positive. So both here we get a positive 24. Now if we're looking at finding the product, once again we're multiplying. If we're looking for a product of two integers and we have different signs, then our answer is negative. So this would be if we have like a positive 8 times, a lot of times you would see if it's a negative in parentheses to separate that multiplication from the negative sign. If we have a positive times a negative, we get a negative. In this case, it'd be a negative 24. So you do the multiplication like it was 8 times 3, but with that sign, a positive times a negative is a negative. We're looking at this as the opposite of a positive is a negative. And the same is true if I had negative 8 times 3. We have 24, but because those signs are different, one is negative, one is positive, this gives us a negative answer. It's once again saying the opposite of a positive, and the opposite of a positive is negative. So when the signs are the same when you're multiplying, it's a positive answer. When the signs are different, you have a negative answer. And that is when you're multiplying. It's very important that you keep multiplication separate from the addition and subtraction rules that we follow. For dividing, it is the same as products. Now we're finding quotients, and when they have the same sign, it's also positive, just like in the product. So for example, if I had a positive 8 divided by a positive 2, that equals 4. If I had a negative 8 divided by a negative 2, it is also 4. When they're the same, it's positive. And it's true because with multiplication and division are just opposites. They're inverse operations of each other, and that's why this works. The quotient of two integers with different signs, when we have different signs, it's negative, just like when we were finding different signs, the product of different signs. So once again, if I had something like negative, we'll just use the same integers or values here, negative 8 divided by 2, that's going to give us a negative 4. And this is true because it's all the opposite of multiplication. It uses the same rule. We get negative 4 here as well. So when the signs are the same, positive. When the signs are different, negative. That works for both multiplying and dividing. Some examples. This first one here, we have negative 11 times 2 times negative 1. Now when we're just multiplying, you go from left to right. That's all we're doing here. So negative 11 times 2. A negative times a positive gives us a negative. Negative 11 times 2 gives us negative 22. And then we have times negative 1. I'm not going to put the parentheses there. You don't have to. A negative times a negative is a positive, and 22 times 1 is 22. Number 2, a diver descends 80 feet in 4 minutes. What is the diver's rate of descent? Rate of descent, when the diver's descending, they're going down 80 feet in 4 minutes. So we're doing -8 divided by, or -80 divided by 4, which gives you -20. They're descending 20 feet per minute. That is the rate. So rate of descent is 20 feet per minute. That negative is showing us descent. If it's not there and you're saying in words the rate of descent is 20 feet per minute, that works, or the negative shows us that too. In number 3 here, we have an algebraic expression because we have variables, y divided by, in parentheses, x minus y, and then minus z times y. So we have to replace the value of the variables, or we have to replace the variables with the value here. And we're saying y is 9, so 9 divided by, in parentheses, x we're saying is 6, minus y, which we're saying is 9, parenthesis, minus z, which we're saying z is -2, times y, which is 9. I'm using parentheses to show my multiplication, because remember, this right here means multiplication when they're sitting next to each other like that. Now follow the order of operation, PEMDAS. Work inside parentheses first, so I'm going to do that. 9 divided by 6 minus 9 gives us -3 minus -2 times 9. Next in PEMDAS would be exponents. We don't have the exponents. Next we multiply and divide from left to right. So I'm going to divide 9 divided by -3 gives me a -3, because a positive divided by a negative is a negative, minus -2 times 9. Now I have to do my multiplication, so I have -3 minus -2 times 9 gives us a -18. And when we have minus here and we're subtracting a negative, that becomes addition. Taking away a negative is really addition. We're adding. Signs are different, so we find the difference. Keep the sign of the greater absolute value, which is 18, which is positive, so our answer is positive. We circle that. We wrote the problem out, we showed our work, and we circled our answer. Can you say I can multiply and divide integers? Here's your output to complete. Be ready with questions for class time.